So I got a little inspired from the Bad Self Eater guy to bring the congregation a message that I feel drives home a much larger concept than he seemed to be getting at. And this concept, from my observation, also seems to be the root issue of virtually every problem Americans face today. Let's put it this way: it has become fundamental to such a wicked nation to perpetuate acts of evil and blame it on someone else. Oh, Satan did it. The evil conspirators did it. Freemasons did it. The Fed did it. Bilderbergers did it. Cops did it. CEOs running naked in a redwood forest somewhere did it. Aliens did it. No, no, no. Giant flying evil space monkeys did it. That's right, we found the culprit. Look, regardless of whoever you think the culprit of real evil on this planet is, if you think that it's anyone other than you yourself, you are wrong. So terribly, terribly wrong. Look, when the American colonies were subject to taxation to cover up the interest created by the Central Bank of Great Britain, did the patriots just stand idly by? No. No, they drew their swords. They fought what they knew was evil and stripping them of their freedom. They fought and bled and died for their rights. And it resulted in America's independence. You wouldn't have a nation if it wasn't for the courageous acts of your ancestors, who later made it abundantly clear in your nation's stated doctrine of governance, the United States Constitution, that the people, yes, the people, the common man, has the right and the power to uphold civil and human liberties. And if evil were to ever expose itself, your Constitution gives the citizen not just the right, the responsibility to cast it out, and it makes lawful the tools and resources to do this. But what do Americans do with this right today? Nothing. No, absolutely nothing. You all vociferously grieve over the actions of your neighbor, your boss, your coworker, your government, your cops, your corporations, your doctors, your farmer reps, actors, musicians, scientists, news anchors, terrorists, all the other nations out there in the world that you send off young men to so they can die. When in fact, all this evil is allowed to perpetuate because you allow it to. You complain about the media and how it sways opinion, yet you tune into their programming. You watch their motion pictures, you buy their merchandise, you play around on their social blogs, and you make them a shit ton of money in the process. Holy smokes. All this time forgetting that you have the freedom to think for yourself. You complain about the government, how ineffectively it runs a nation, yet you continue to drive on government-paid roadways. You take your families to parks run by government facilities to vacation. You pay into and take from pensions and Social Security from government programs. You follow the research and take heed of warnings given by government agencies that set up equipment all over the place just to watch over your skies. And when shit hits the fan, you expect a government-paid employee with a badge to come save you. You complain about corporations and how greedy they are. Yet, you couldn't live one single day without them. You couldn't live a single moment without working for them or buying their merchandise or purchasing their stock. You can't live without it, face it. You make them rich, rich beyond all measure. Because that's the way we built our society. You complain about the energy in the technology sector, especially you global warming people, and how it defiles the environment. Yet you play around on smartphones and use gadgets requiring rare earth minerals. Heck, we're doing this right now with this sermon. You drink water and eat food and take medicines from plastic jugs. You ride around in petroleum fuel cars, boats, buses, planes to enjoy the luxury of going to wherever the heck it is you want to go. And all anyone shows is that they share no burden in the guilt. Instead, they just make the sewage spill out and spew all over the place even faster. You complain about zealots who spit lies and conceal the truth, yet you sacrifice one ideology for another. Don't lie to yourself. You take an interest in a subject. Everyone does, and it's whatever your little mind is befuddling, whatever's befuddling you, whatever baffles you, whatever bewilders you, whatever makes you feel happy inside. Regardless of whether it's a religious or a secular subject, everyone has a God. Everyone has a God, regardless of whether you believe in the real God or not. And you make that God a lot of money. Oh, and on the subject of money, blaming the Fed, that's a good one, right? We do that a lot. Yeah, we blame the Fed for all these quote-unquote evil atrocities that locks everyone into a perpetual state of debt. But you pay off the loan with your income taxes. You couldn't live a day without buying or selling using their mark. And that makes them a lot of freaking money. There isn't a nook or cranny in the world where you can run away to and hide from it. You need their drug to stay alive. Oh, and on the subject of drugs, you probably blame pharma companies for their dirty little deeds. Yeah, poisoning the world. I mean, we all know they're doing it. Yet, you see the doctors and go to the hospitals that those companies contract with. You buy insurance programs that they help to fund when you get sick. All along, you're supplying the demand. I mean, guys, it wasn't the McDonald's that made you unhealthy. You put the food in your mouth. It wasn't the Marlboros that gave you cancer. You sucked down the ashes. It wasn't the Anheuser-Busch that made you drunk. You popped the bottle. It wasn't mommy or daddy that made you feel this way. You had millions of productive role models in society to learn from. And all along, you had the freedom of choice. But instead of making the wise choice, you play into the hands of evil. And you feed off of it. An evil to cover up another evil. A sin to cover up a much larger sin. It's all a drug to mask a great and terrible illness. And if it wasn't for you to make the wheel turn, evil would have no place. It would have no ride to go on. All our actions are doing is running into a deep, dark hole to hide the shame and the guilt that deep down you hold as your heaviest burden. Even the ones who rise up and protest the things that they feel are wrong are doing so against petty, shallow causes in an effort to cover up more of their own atrocities, creating more violence and more disruption and more division because they can't intelligently reach a solution with a collective mindset. All along, there has been no one else, and I mean no one else, to blame for anything bad or evil that is perpetuated in this world. Only you. You are the reason why you suffer. And it's just because you lack perspective. Humor me for a minute. Remember that old saying, it's not what happens to you that matters, it's how you react to it? Well, when I was growing up, playing professional golf, training to be a professional athlete, I took lessons from sports psychologists, and the most fundamental and probably the primary lesson that I could have ever learned in my youth was you can't control what is outside of your control. You can only control what's in your control. Duh, right? Naturally. So why is it that this fundamental rule of human existence is negated and everything outside of your control is the reason blamed for the misery of this world? At any point, you could have sought a genuine remedy to not only help yourself, but help others as well. But instead, everyone turns their emotions into weapons, pointing fingers and collectively exploiting the weaknesses of others. You can't blame the media, the corporations, the military complexes, the governments, and the religions for creating scapegoats because you do it too. You blame other people for your own insecurities, your own misery. And by distracting ourselves, it's because that's all it is. It's just a distraction. We're distracting ourselves from the real issue at hand. And that issue is that each and every person gives evil the most ultimate breeding ground necessary to sustain a life while we destroy all other life around us. No, folks, you are the source to blame for evil. I am the source to blame for evil. We all are. We give it power, we give it weight, and we place such destructive acts upon a pedestal. Everyone individually will have to stand before our Lord on Judgment Day and must answer to what we are personally responsible for. You will not have to answer to the crimes of others against God. You will only have to answer for you, yourself. But those answers might involve you having to answer for why you witnessed evil being committed around you and did absolutely nothing to stop it. We have to do what's righteous and mature in this moment, folks. We have to take responsibility for our actions. It is every man and woman's capability of committing the most heinous act imaginable. But every man and woman is equally capable of committing the most amazing act possible. So why do we make the choices that we do? Because really, look at the history books. Look at the reality. Who are your role models? Who are the people that you are inspired by? Folks, the true heroes of this world didn't just wake up to a safe 9-to-5 job with a pension. They didn't take the stock option, which claims they have a guaranteed security some point down the road. They didn't see their life ending up in a retirement home. They didn't play into the hands of conspirators. They didn't just follow the religions because of the guilt thrown around them by presbyters. They didn't take unclean offerings, and they certainly did not blame anyone else for this world's wickedness unless they were first willing to stand up and fight it. The true heroes of this world bled and died for what they knew was right. Your Lord being perhaps the most exemplified and historically significant case of such an act. But many preceded him, and many followed him, including his own apostles, fighting and dying and risking everything for the cause they knew would change the world for a better place. The true heroes of this world sacrificed their lives so that others may find life. They stuck their neck out for the sake of the world, a path that led through hardships, through heartaches, pain, suffering, torment, persecution, you name it, just for the sake of life. And what they did has proven to innovate the world over and over, time and time again. That's the narrow path, folks. But instead of taking the narrow path, we, as a whole, we choose to just allow evil to propagate. Instead of choosing to fight the beast of evil and corruption along with the very few brave souls who did so, we as a collective murder the good guys. We make statues afterwards of them and we worship them. We ask of their memory and legacy for blessings and salvation, while we flaunt the murder weapons which committed the acts of such an atrocity. All of this is playing right into the hands of evil, guys. All of this is allowing the conspirators that you lament to profit. They're profiting off of your own wickedness. Ugh. Okay, well, here's some good news. Today, your Lord has returned to cast evil asunder. You all have been given a choice. Now that he's here, you can choose to see the light and you can choose to be a light to others. You can choose to overcome the darkness and help others see their own power to do so as well. Or you can suffer at the hands of a righteous justice. Because that's what's coming, folks, a righteous justice. If you do nothing and just keep the bullshit cycle alive because it's comfortable, then that's exactly what you're going to suffer. Justice. And if you do that, folks, how could you ever expect to be regarded in the company of saints who bravely died for their cause? Seriously, that makes utterly no sense for anyone to expect such a blessing. Look, guys, if you love God, if you love others, heck, if you even love even just the slightest amount of yourself, for God's sake, stop playing the victim card. Get some courage to walk away from evil, and for God's sakes and for your own sake, do something to make the world a better place. At least you will be able to stand before your Lord, the true and righteous leader of this world, Lord Rael, and say with confidence that you tried.